Hi, PerspectaWeather.com meteorologist Paul Doreen here on Wednesday, January 13th. Been a rather quiet couple of days here in the Mid-Atlantic region, the Northeast U.S. Looks like it'll stay quiet for the next couple of days, but then the weather becomes quite a bit more active from Friday night right through much of next week. A lot of waves of energy in the atmosphere. We'll kind of have to decipher each threat on its own here over the next several days. This cold frontal system will arrive the Friday night, early Saturday timetable. It looks like it'll kind of slow down as it heads towards the eastern seaboard. Low pressure is likely to form along it. Liable to be some rain Friday night in D.C., Philadelphia, New York City, and then as colder air slowly filters in behind the cold frontal system, there certainly can be a changeover to some snow or snow shower activity, even in the I-95 corridor region, late Friday night and during the day on Saturday. And lots of energy in the upper part of the atmosphere that will pass overhead on Saturday well into the weekend. Looks like it'll continue to cause unsettled conditions and perhaps some snow shower activity later Saturday into Saturday night in the Mid-Atlantic region. And then a couple of systems we'll have to watch for next week. One might come near the Mid-Atlantic region early in the week, let's say the Monday time frame, and then another system could pose a threat late next week, let's say Thursday time frame here, as it pulls out of the south and tries to come northeast towards the Mid-Atlantic region. Let's kind of take a look at the bigger picture to start off the video discussion, then we'll kind of look at some of the finer details with last night's GFS model run. This is the average of the 850 millibar temperature anomalies in 5-day periods. We are looking at the current 5-day period and just want to again show the evolution of the temperature pattern over the next couple of weeks. It looks like generally a colder and colder trend for the northern U.S. This is the way it stands right now with above normal conditions, at least at the 850 millibar level across the northern U.S., southern Canada, colder than normal down in the southern states. This is for the current 5-day period. Let's just push forward here and watch what happens as we get to the middle part of January. Here is days 5 to 9. And this is based off of the ensemble run of the 0ZGFS. This is centered on the January 17th to 22nd time period. Notice kind of certainly a flip across southern Canada and the northern U.S. in terms of above normal now at the 850 millibar level to at least somewhat below normal by the middle and certainly the third week of January. Let's go out a little bit farther in time, and the core of the coldest air starts to set up to the north and western part of the U.S. into southwestern Canada, kind of an extension of colder than normal conditions cutting across the Mid-Atlantic region into the western part of the Atlantic. And that is kind of an interesting scenario here. It looks like troughiness over the Atlantic Ocean may ultimately back into the west towards the eastern U.S. from the Atlantic Ocean. You kind of see that here in the temperature pattern as well. Notice it's kind of coming in from the east here. Something we'll have to watch for around the third week or so of January. Again, a big trough out over the Atlantic Ocean may actually back in the upper part of the atmosphere towards the eastern U.S. And there may be a connection basically from European cold all the way across the Atlantic into the eastern U.S. and it looks like it'll be focused across the northern plains and northwestern part of the nation. This is days 12 to 16 going out to January 24th to January 29th. So again, something to watch for. Watch east of here in a week or so for some interesting part of the pattern that could actually back into the eastern U.S. Well, let's now take a look at the same kind of maps put out by the ensemble run of the 0ZGFS, except this time it's 500 millibar height anomalies. Previous sets of maps were the 850 millibar temperature anomalies. And again, we'll watch what happens over the Atlantic Ocean and with troughiness that could extend back into the eastern U.S. by, let's say, the third week or so of January. This is the current 5-day period right here with a deep trough over the eastern part of the nation and some ridging showing up along the western U.S. Now let's watch what happens here as we move forward here. Now we are at days 5 to 9, January 17th to 22nd. Notice right here kind of a connection between a trough over the Atlantic Ocean, which goes all the way really into Europe, starting to kind of, let's go back again a little bit, kind of connecting here with the trough over the U.S. and that could produce some interesting weather. We'll have to watch for that later next week going into the following week. And notice again, high latitude blocking here. It's focused on southern Greenland, but as we go forward here, notice kind of shifts to the south and west. This is correlated with a negative NAO when it's focused west of Greenland. That's what we call a west-based negative NAO, and that can lead to some interesting weather in the eastern U.S. in terms of cold and snow. But again, notice this troughiness here, upper level low, starting to kind of connect from Europe to the Atlantic Ocean back into the troughiness over the U.S. So we'll see how that evolves. This is again later on in the month here with a kind of a west-based NAO, and a lot of players on the field makes it difficult to forecast. This continues to exist as we go out farther in time here over south and west of Greenland. And will there be a connection here at this point in time between this over the Atlantic Ocean and this all the way back over the central and western U.S.? So we'll just have to remain and see. Certainly ridging pops up at least on an occasional basis out across the western part of Canada, and we've talked about that before. That could allow for the transport of some cold air masses into the central and eastern U.S. So a lot of players on the field here, and we'll see exactly how this pattern evolves over the next 10 to 14 days or so. Well, let's now kind of take a look at some of the finer details going forward. And just as we mentioned, a lot of players on the field in the upper levels, in terms of upper level ridges, upper level troughs, makes it a little difficult, more difficult certainly, to pinpoint what will happen in a week or 2 weeks out. We have all kinds of energy, vorticity maxima, spins in the atmosphere throughout the U.S. and Canada here, making it difficult to predict exactly what will happen in 3 or 4 days or so in terms of potential storm threats here. Certainly have been relatively quiet over the last couple of days and the next couple of days in this part of the nation, the Midwest, the Mid-Atlantic region, Northeast U.S. Watch this wave as it presses to the south and east, but again, staying relatively quiet here through Thursday in the Mid-Atlantic region. But then we have this bowling ball of a system here. This is the Friday morning forecast map of vorticity at 500 millibars. Very strong upper level system associated with this strong cold front that arrives along the eastern seaboard sometime Friday night. This starts to kind of slow down. It's kind of a closed, well, not completely closed off, but kind of acting like a closed off upper level low that slowing down some as the front approaches the eastern seaboard. By the time we get into this time frame here, Friday night, low pressure is liable to form somewhere near the Carolina coastline and then pull to the north. Rain is likely, certainly at the start here Friday night, places like D.C., Philadelphia, New York City. But following the cold frontal passage, colder air will filter in. It won't flood in. We don't have an Arctic outbreak coming immediately behind this cold front by any means. High temperatures will trend downward over the weekend into the early part of next week, but not Arctic cold. Moderate cold, certainly colder than what we'll experience on Thursday and Friday. And with that colder air filtering in, there can be a changeover to snow or snow showers late Friday night into Saturday. And with this up even in the immediate I-95 corridor region, and with this upper level feature sliding slowly overhead during the day on Saturday. Let's go all the way. This is Saturday morning forecast map. Still have that upper level low over the Midwest. With that instability in the atmosphere, we certainly can have snow showers on Saturday afternoon into Saturday night in the Mid-Atlantic region. But that is quite an energetic system. Will have an impact Friday night and Saturday in the Mid-Atlantic region, the Northeast U.S. At the same time, colder air filters in. Then we move forward here. It takes a little while to get that out of here, and then we get to Sunday. Notice right on its heels, a northern branch wave and a southern branch wave of energy here. Again, we've had a lot of players on the field. Will these phase together by the time we get to Monday or so here? And this is trying to do that here in the Monday time frame here, trying to phase together. So there will be a system to watch for the early part of next week in the Mid-Atlantic region, Northeast U.S., somewhere in the Monday time frame or so. Too early to say if these will actually phase in time to produce any significant precipitation. And temperatures will be marginally cold. Not a guarantee that if anything were to develop, it would be all snow. Certainly not a guarantee, but that's on the table, that there could be some snow early next week. And then later on next week, we'll have to monitor this wave of energy that dives all the way to Mexico, and then starts to make a move to the north and east. And again, there'll be a northern branch system and a southern branch system. Will these phase together by, let's say, a week or so from now, next Wednesday, Thursday, Friday time frame, and cause any kind of a storm in the Mid-Atlantic region? Just a little too early to say. This is the forecast map for next Thursday, January 21st. So a lot of players on the field, and even another one behind that. Just have to take each one of these threats really one day at a time, and focus in on the next 3 or 4 days, because it's very difficult for the computer forecast models to handle all of these waves, and the phasing, the timing of the phasing is critical, of course, to any potential storm in the northeastern part of the nation. Well, let's wrap up with the surface forecast maps from last night's operational run of the GFS. By the way, again, these maps are from tropicaltidbits.com. Look at this, the eastern two-thirds of the nation basically precipitation free for the most part here as we begin the day at midweek on Wednesday. Big storm with a lot of Pacific moisture out in the Pacific Northwest. Let's move forward here. Nothing of consequence over the next 2 days. Then we get into the big storm that barrels into the northwestern part of the nation today, cuts right across the northern plains, and by the time we get to Thursday evening, it's a pretty good snowstorm for the northern plains, the upper part of the Midwest, and a strong cold frontal system right in this region right here come Thursday night, starting to cross the Midwest. And here we go now into the day on Friday. The cold frontal system out ahead of the low, which is still centered over the upper part of the Midwest. You notice it did not move that much in a 12-hour period. In fact, it retrogrades a little bit from Wisconsin here Thursday evening to basically the Iowa-Minnesota border by Friday morning. And that's that kind of upper level low that we said kind of acting like a closed upper level low that's sitting and spinning. And that will contribute to accumulating snow out in that part of the nation, and will also allow for the formation of low pressure near the eastern seaboard as this front arrives. Let's now go into Friday evening. Frontal system now lining up right along the east coast, and there will be a low pressure, I think, forming in this area. The GFS, this particular model and model run, kind of suppressing, I think, that activity right now a little bit too much. I think there'll be something forming along here, and it's trying to form something here, and there will be certainly some rain showers with the frontal system Friday night in the I-95 corridor region, D.C. to Philly to New York City. But as the colder air filters in late Friday night into the day on Saturday, there can be some snow shower activity, and even GFS is picking up on as that upper level low slides slowly to the east. It'll be very unstable, and this will be kind of in the colder air mass. Certainly can have some snow showers even into the I-95 corridor region, but especially across the higher elevations in the western part of the Mid-Atlantic region, all the way into Saturday evening, and a strong northwest wind will form by Saturday evening, and it'll be a cold air mass, not an Arctic air mass, but cold. And then we have this next system to watch for early next week. Right in this area right here is that next batch of energy, one in the northern branch, one in the southern branch. Could that phase together in time to produce some decent snowfall on Monday? Probably not, but it's something that we'll have to watch. And then we go into the latter part of next week. This is a Tuesday forecast map, and there'll be very likely a pretty significant precipitation maker down in the southern part of the U.S. Does that go all the way to the north and east into the Middle Atlantic region, let's say about the Thursday or so time frame? And GFS pulls it up to the north and east, in fact to the west of the I-95 corridor region by next Thursday, producing enough warming to cause a rain event in the Mid-Atlantic region. This is certainly way off in the distance here, but something we'll have to watch for, let's say, the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday time frame of next week. It can be rain or snow. This is certainly not set in stone either. That very well could slide to the south and east of where the GFS is currently predicting it will go. And again, we're talking 8 days out right now. In the immediate term, quiet weather continues for the next couple of days in the Mid-Atlantic, Northeast U.S. Strong, slow-moving cold front arrives Friday night. Some rain at the onset. Could change to snow showers late Friday night and during the day on Saturday in the Mid-Atlantic region as a colder air mass filters in to the region. That's it for now. For PerspectaWeather.com, I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.